Good afternoon, everyone. I'll wait a few minutes to allow people to join, but we will get started here shortly for our scheduled lunch and learning. We're so glad to have people on and also glad to have this opportunity with the coalition. So I'll just sit tight for a few minutes and then we'll get this thing kicked off. Okay, I think we've had an opportunity to allow people to jump in as we were having a few folks in the waiting room. My name's Kyle Butterfield, and it's my pleasure to serve on the Wyoming Airports Coalition Board. And I'm really proud of this Lunch and Learn series that we've been able to offer to our membership and also to aviation enthusiasts. The board really prioritized the need to provide education opportunities and network opportunities to our membership. And I hope that we're providing subject matter that's valuable to you, that will improve your ability to serve as an airport director, an airport employee, a consultant to an airport, an elected official or board member, basically anybody that has stewardship over aviation and airports in Wyoming. We hope that this is helpful to you. Before we get started, I do want to make a few announcements. First, please be reminded that we have our fall conference coming up soon in Saratoga. That conference runs September 18th through the 20th, and we're very excited. The conference theme is fundamentals, and we've established a schedule of events, and we've brought in expert speakers with the sole purpose of providing you building blocks and information to strengthen your foundation as a professional in the aviation industry. We hope that from those topics, your foundation truly will be strengthened, and you'll be able to go back to your respective communities and just improve and continue the great work that you're doing. So if you haven't registered, there's still time. Please register. We would love to see you. If you're like me, the sessions are always valuable, but having the networking opportunities also make a huge difference, and having the opportunity to speak with our sponsors and our corporate partners is also very valuable. Unique to this year is an opportunity to golf at the Old Baldy Private Club. Not many opportunities to golf there, and we're very excited for the partnership that they've offered and the opportunity for our golf enthusiasts to golf at one of the best courses in the state of Wyoming. So with that said, I just encourage you to get engaged, attend our conference, and if you ever have questions, please reach out to a member of the board, because our whole goal is to provide good service to you as a coalition and value to your membership. Today, we're pleased with our fourth installment for the Lunch and Learn series, and we have AJ Schutzman with WYDOT Aeronautics. AJ has been with the state for several years. He currently serves, and I'm going to read this intro to you, as the Aviation Planning Manager for the state of Wyoming. AJ has been with the Transportation Department for several years in the Aeronautics Division, and he oversees the planning, programming, and UAS functions for the state of Wyoming. His primary responsibility is the development and administration of the Wyoming Aviation Capital Improvement Program, or WASIP, and working with stakeholders, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the Wyoming Aeronautics Commission to establish the funding program. He previously served as the Senior Planning Manager, Statewide System Planning Projects and Master Plan Representative. He covered land acquisition, environmental assessment projects at all of the 40 publicly owned airports in the state of Wyoming. Mr. Schutzman is a Wyoming native, holds a bachelor's degree in aviation management for Rocky Mountain College. While attending Rocky Mountain College, he earned his fixed wing pilot certification and later attended Army Flight School, adding the Rotorcraft Commercial Instrument Certificate. He joined the Aeronautics Division in 2016 and also serves in the Wyoming National Guard as an aeromedical evacuation pilot, flying an HH-60M Blackhawk helicopter. We're very pleased to have him, and I can't tell you how grateful we are for the partnership that we have with the Aeronautics Division, and what a topical subject that we have today as it comes to the amendment to the priority rating model. So with that, I'll leave it to Mr. Schutzman. And again, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kyle. I'm going to get a quick plug right now. As you guys are all aware, we are at the end of our fiscal year and we're trying to get grants out the door as rapidly as possible. There'll be numerous grants heading out this week. So if you're expecting any of them or your project managers are in contact, please don't hesitate in getting those ran through your process to get them signed and back to us so that we can make sure that those funds are fully encumbered by the end of the year. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We'll get going on the presentation. I did drop the copy of the presentation, a copy of the priority rating model, and a copy of the commission policy into the chat. And then as we go through this, if there's any questions or anything, go ahead and drop those into the chat or Q&A portion of it. And Kyle told me he would be keeping an eye on that, and we can stop at any point and discuss anything. So quickly, we'll give a brief division overview. We've got some people on the line. They're probably unfamiliar a little bit with the Aeronautics Division and what we do. We'll discuss Aeronautics Commission and the policy, a brief overview of the airport system and funding, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it in the priority rating model. A little bit about project management, and I doubt we'll be getting to air service. I think I took that out of the presentation. I didn't take that bullet off. So the Aeronautics Division is comprised of 5 programs. Planning and programming and our engineering and construction program work on the Wyoming Aviation Capital Improvement Program, managing the projects all the way from inception to closeout. The planning program is responsible for providing oversight for airport planning, environmental and land projects, and administering the WASA. Engineering and construction, just like it sounds, they work with the airports and consultants on maintenance and construction projects, and as well as securing equipment. And they also do the group payment management and maintenance projects across the state, which saves a significant amount of money when we do that group procurement. Air service development is focused on promoting and developing commercial air service throughout the state. Since we have a small population, expansive area, it is quite a task to retain and enhance air service throughout the state. Our UAS program is focused on establishing and managing our UAS programs for state agencies and getting a standard operating procedure in place for those. And then our flight operations is responsible for our state-owned aircraft, providing air transportation service to elected officials, members of the public, boards, commissions, state agency employees on official business. So the Aeronautics Commission is comprised of 8 commissioners. They're all appointed by the governor. We have 5 districts across the state, so 2 of them serve at large, and the WYDOT director is an ex officio member. It is established by Wyoming statute in Title 10. Their major responsibilities are the statewide aviation capital improvement planning. They are the sole discretion or the sole authority to determine the disbursement of funds for the state's airports. And the federal funds actually flow through us as a result of the Channeling Act. They are, through Title 10, empowered for air service development and then aviation awareness and encouragement. The commission has 3 main priorities that help guide our funding decisions. We're going to maintain before we build anything. So we're going to maintain that existing airport infrastructure. And then we're going to complete projects that facilitate and improve commercial air service, both through our air service enhancement program and the capacity purchase agreement, as well as the AIP side of the house for the infrastructure needed to support commercial air service. And then we're going to expand public awareness of aviation in the state of Wyoming. And as always, aviation safety is our top priority. So I won't go through the entire Aeronautics Commission policy, but we did just approve version 4.0 here about 2 weeks ago. So major changes to it that took place during that update was revenue generating facilities. They used to be ineligible for state funding outside of a match on a federal grant, but now those are eligible for state funds on a state and local only grant. And then our federal match, project match, from the match percentages are being reduced from 60-40 to 50-50 effective in fiscal year 25. So on that chart down there, you can see based off of your airport category there, it's going to be an even match. And then with caveat of FAA reauthorization and the federal share going up to 95% for all airports, that will be in effect for fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26. And then effective in fiscal year 26, the state share will be reduced by 10% on state and local only projects. Some of those remain unchanged, such as aviation encouragement and marketing. However, safety, security, and planning will all be reduced by 10%. And just a clerical error in there, our group pavement maintenance is listed to be reduced to 80-20. But we're going to address that with another update to the commission and put that back at that 90-10 because we realize the importance of our pavement maintenance across the state and the cost saving measures that saves us. Federally eligible equipment, the last update, any equipment purchase that was federally eligible and did not pursue federal funds due to the Buy American clause or for whatever reason, and they came for a state and local only grant, was that 75-25 split. And now we put a dollar cap on that. So if it's over $300,000, the total project, it will all go to 75-25. And then if it's under 300,000, it will be a standard safety match at 90-10 for fiscal year 25 or 80-20 in fiscal year 26 or beyond. There was also a slight change in the wording for aviation encouragement. I believe it used to say in there that you needed to apply for your grant 2 months prior to your event, and now just says that you must apply for it prior to incurring any expenses. Now, our state aviation system is made up of 40 public use, publicly owned airports, and they're further divided into 4 subcategories defined in our statewide system plan. Commercial air service serves the major populations and obviously has commercial air service associated with their airport, or 139 airport. Now, they're designed to accommodate commercial air service and business general aviation activity consistent with the user demand. And then as we go further down, business airports are serving a little bit smaller communities, but still larger economic centers, providing a connection to the state and national economies. These are intended to accommodate larger business jet activity and support tourism and recreational users. Our intermediate airports serve counties and medium to small communities to support the local economies and are intended to accommodate medium to small business jet activity and recreational users. And then last but not least, our local airports, they're serving the smallest communities, and they have basic facilities that are intended to accommodate recreational users and most importantly, support the emergency use of the airfields. So all of the airports are owned and used by the public. As I said, we have 40 across the system. 34 of them have paved runways. So with crosswind runways and secondary runways across the state, there are 45 total paved runways, 9 commercial service airports, and 31 general aviation airports. We do have a lot of pavement across the state. That's for the engineers. I'm sure you're impressed by those numbers. And then we have approximately 80 eligible structures across the state that include commercial and general aviation terminals. Based on 2019 data, the estimated replacement cost of the infrastructure at airports is over $1.7 billion. I'd like to point out the economic impact of aviation in Wyoming is over $2 billion at this point. This was from a 2020 study, and we are currently kicking off a new study that will hopefully be out in the spring of 2026. So look for updated numbers there. I like to throw this slide in there just to show, that the airports are connecting Wyoming to the global economy. Well, only 27% of our flights occur just within the bounds of our state. A lot of those being cargo or doctors flying to smaller communities for their clinics. 63% of the flights are domestic, and then surprisingly 10% of all the flights are international destinations. And I like to toss in there WYDOT, parent WYDOT on the highway side. They maintain roughly 6,800 miles of highways, and they'll take you exactly 6,800 miles. Our Wyoming airports have a little over 55 miles of paved runways, and those will take you anywhere in the world. So airport funding, Wyoming is a channeling act state, meaning that federal funds flow through the state, and this was established in Title 10 of Wyoming statute. And the Aeronautics Commission is the sole authority to determine the disbursement of those funds to the airports. And that's accomplished through an agency agreement with the airport sponsors. Airports do have the ability to opt out so that those federal funds don't flow through us. Rather, they receive their payments directly from the Federal Aviation Administration. To be eligible for federal funding through the FAA, the airports need to be part of the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems, lovingly referred to as the NIPIAS. And currently in Wyoming, there are 33 airports included in that. They're broke down between primary and non-primary airports for the formula funding. So our general aviation airports, our non-primary airports, currently receive $150,000 a year of entitlement funding. And then our primary airports or commercial service airports, they're just getting bumped up to $1.3 million yearly effective in fiscal year 25. The airports can save up to 4 years worth of that to accomplish larger projects, and then can borrow and trade amongst themselves, with the approval of FAA to be able to make projects whole. The state apportionment funds, again, this is all federal funding. The state apportionment funds are for general aviation airports only, and it's competitive within the bounds of the state. It's a formula fund based on the land mass and the population of the state. And so they look at those nationwide. It's dependent on how much total airport improvement money is available on the federal side in a given year. And on any given year, Wyoming receives about between $3 and $3.5 million of these funds. The discretionary funds, all airports can compete for that, but it is competitive on a regional level. So here in Wyoming, we are part of the Northwest Mountain region. So we are competing with the likes of Denver and Seattle and Portland, Boise, major airports, Salt Lake. We're competing with those large airports for those discretionary funds. And they're looking at, the FAA is using their national priority system to prioritize those funds on the regional level. On our 5-year average, with entitlement money, we have about $14.5 million coming into the state. Our state apportionment is roughly about $3.2 million, and we get about $27.4 million of discretionary. So the Wyoming Aviation Capital Improvement Program, or the WASIP, is broken up into a couple different line items, as we call them. So we have our general projects, and those are infrastructure projects. These are the common airport infrastructure improvements that are going on. Then this is where the priority rating model applies, is to the general projects. And we also have statewide programs that include our group pavement maintenance program, NavAid maintenance, WindSox, aviation encouragement, and our marketing and promotions. And with those, we set aside specific amounts of money in those line items that are specific to those projects, and only apply to those projects until the end of the biennium, and then we sweep it all back in and make sure it all goes out to an airport for an infrastructure project. So our WASIP update process, we are currently in the beginning stages of it for this year, but it feels like we're in the heart of it. So here in the division, we start early in the year, coordinating all of our dates, looking at schedules with the FAA and our calendars. And then in through June and August, we're doing CIP meetings with all the airports and their consultants between the division staff and the FAA. We're opening those up to discuss project eligibility, funding, any questions that they may have before submitting their CIP. It just helps in the development of their plan. And in August, our system opens up for their applications, and the airports are submitting their applications for the next 20 years in there. We're expecting to see for 6 years more detailed with cost estimates and sketches, and then a pretty general plan for the next 14 years to complete that 20-year program. Soon as all the applications are submitted, those are usually due around the 1st of September. Then division staff starts working through our review of the projects and looking at eligibility criteria and justification. And then during that time frame, we're also sitting down with the FAA where they're prioritizing their funding and putting their funding on the projects. And then we're scoring out of the priority rating model and looking at our available budget and funding as many projects as we can within those fiscal years. And then we submit a draft to the Aeronautics Commission in December for their approval of the draft. That draft then goes out for public comment for roughly 30 days. And then we go back through in the division and work through our comments. If it's in regards to federal funding or timing of federal projects, then we coordinate with the FAA and finalize a plan. And then in the spring, the next the next fiscal year budget is approved. And the remaining 6 years or the remaining 5 years of that 6 years gets included into the STIP or the State Transportation Improvement Plan, which is the overall WYDOT improvement plan. So the priority rating model is a responsibility of the Aeronautics Commission. According to Title 10, we do have to have a system for prioritizing our projects. It was first referenced as early as 1987, and then the current version that we have was established around 2003, and then went through major rework in about 2008, 2009, and then it's been updated roughly every 2 to 3 years moving forward. And now we will continue updating it based off of any changes in policy or legislation with a backstop of 6 years. So it will be updated at least every 6 years now. So the projects are prioritized using the Wyoming Priority Rating Model or the PRM. Like I said, it's updated regularly by a task force, and this task force is comprised of airports, division staff, aeronautics commissioners, and industry representatives. We do like to see 2 commercial service airports and then 1 airport from each of our lower classifications participate in the discussion, as well as 2 aeronautics commissioners and a consultant. This last go around, we had a consultant that had a FAA experience, and that proved to be very valuable in our discussions. So moving forward, I believe we'll include an FAA representative in there as an advisory council. And then as soon as we go through the process, it's a couple days of sitting in a room and really hashing it out and talking about each category and the implications of it. As soon as we get a draft done, out for public comment again for roughly 30 days. And then the updates are approved by the Aeronautics Commission to meet the intent of Title 10. So we'll go through each one of these categories here. All 8 categories with a maximum of 105 points available. This chart is in the back, towards the back of the PRM there, but it does just kind of help give you a graphic of the the weights and how each of these categories will affect the overall score. So starting off, I do have page references on this, and like I said, the document itself, I put it in the chat. Hopefully you guys were able to get that. I did that just slightly before being promoted, so hope it didn't go away. But on page 9 of the document, we start talking about the purpose of project. And with the commission priorities being safety, is always our #1 priority. We back that up by giving it the highest award of points under the purpose of project. These projects are seen as highly important, and they're generally defined as improvements to existing infrastructure and facilities and equipment which support the daily functions of the airport, support the short and long-term operations of the airport, and provide safety of the airport personnel and airport users. The division staff goes through that, and we look at 3 key considerations. the potential likelihood and severity of property damage or personal injury and loss of life. Is the project necessary to support safe operations pertaining to current aircraft activity? And then is there an FAA airport design standard that this project is addressing? And then we're starting to look at security and maintenance. A lot of our projects are maintenance and pavement rehabilitation and reconstruction projects. If you look on page 11, that does kind of spell out project types that fall within those. And then the lowest priority is our airport enhancement, expansion, and planning projects to include land acquisition and environmental assessments. Our project components start on page 14. And following the FAA prioritization, we worked from the primary runway out. So we're going to prioritize the primary runway and taxiway associated with it. And then a change that took place in this last update, we prioritized the apron over additional runways and taxiways. And then in this last update, we also defined a crosswind runway based on FAA criteria being eligible based off of wind data and the wind coverage of the primary runway. And then lastly, we prioritize the taxi lanes, a secondary runway, which is justified by capacity, and then landslide projects. And this also helps us, the purpose of the project helps us determine the state match if it's not federally eligible based on commission policy. And for reference, about 60% of our projects under purpose of project fall under security and maintenance. Like I said, the vast majority of them being maintenance. We're very good at maintaining what we've got before building new. Federal funding, as we discussed earlier, with the inclusion into the NIPIAS, that's broken out on page 15 of the priority rating model. We want to entice those federal funds to come into the state and allow those airports to use it. So we are going to prioritize those larger pots of money first, starting with discretionary, then down to state apportionment and entitlement funding. Unfortunately for the airports that are not included in the NIPIAS, they're receiving a 0 in this category because they did not receive federal funding. Our system plans help spell out goals and objectives that are seen on a statewide basis that are dependent on the airport classification and the usage and facilities we would expect to see at those airports. So we've established those goals and objectives on a statewide level and then assigned each airport their own report card of what we'd expect to see at their airport. And so they get points based on if that project is helping us meet a state goal or a local goal, and check that off of our list of projects that should be completed just to meet the standards across the nation of what we do expect to see at like-size airports. Our project timing, this is a weight of 4, starts on page 17. The timing points, this is really based off of engineering judgment and the justification that is provided by the airport itself. Project timing is where we try to align the need of the project with available funding and the timing of the funding. So a 5 is rarely used only in the instance of an emergency. And then we prioritize our group payment maintenance and align with the commission priority to maintain before we build. Time sensitive is, do we have outside funding sources and other parties at play? And then it goes down from there based on, can a project slide based on condition of the pavement or, funding levels, those sort of things. So this is where the justification comes in very big and, engineering judgment. And then the commission priority point, that was broken out in the last update of the priority rating model. And it's used only when a project meets the criteria of the commission priorities but it's at risk of not being funded. So really, it's only a total of 4 points. So if it's falling out of the bottom of the PRM and just not getting funded, those 4 points, if it helps bump it up, the division has the discretion to add that and get approval from the Aeronautics Commission to assign that point. And then the commission always does have the right to step outside of the priority rating model to set aside funding and make sure those projects happen. But since this has been set aside, it has not been used once. On page 19, the airport usage is spelled out, and that is strictly based off of the statewide system plan classifications we talked about earlier off the map. So it's just where you fall within those rating systems. And then the status of airport protection starts on page 20. And here we are incentivizing airports to protect themselves with land ownership control, airspace protections, incorporation of their zoning plan into the local municipality, whether it be county or city, and then having a real estate disclosure. Because we realize, having land control or zoning control protects the airports further down the road from having to complete air projects or limiting their airfield or their operations because of encroachment onto the airfields. And so we go through each category with that, score it, and then shake out the funds at the end of the update process based on the scores. It's, every once in a while, obviously we make human error, and the airports are able to call us out in the comment period there. And we just adjust accordingly. As soon as we get through the priority rating model update and generate the full capital improvement plan, then we go into grant and project management or grant project oversight. So we are a funding agency, so we need to make sure that the projects are eligible and justified. We do reviews of any planning documents or plan reviews that you submit. Go into the design and bid process with all the projects, sit down and participate in any of the meetings that take place in that time frame, along with the FAA. And then it's all project oversight from there. Approving the request for reimbursement, processing the payments, and then we get to inspection and closeout, and that finalizes a very long process for us to get that project all the way through. So we do have quite a few asset management and efficiencies in the system. Our pavement management program, this is required by the FAA on a 3-year cycle. However, we have such a robust system here in Wyoming that the FAA has allowed us to break it into a 4-year program. As the state is divided into 4 quadrants, and we do group projects with pavement investigation followed by crack seal and then seal coat and pavement marking for the airfield pavements. This is all handled through our IDEA website. The link is in that in the presentation there. Feel free to do that. Or to visit that site. We use this heavily on project justification and timing. We're able to go in and look at the pavement condition index numbers for each of those pavement sections and make an educated decision based off of those as to when that project should or should not happen. And then obviously there's engineering judgment that goes into that because the pavement condition is just a surface level inspection. There may be underlying issues. We're relying on the airport consultants to communicate that to us and any problems. Our group pavement maintenance, as I said, is crack seal, seal coat, and mark. We get a large economy of scale on that because we're doing a quarter of the state at a time. And then as always, we're doing group projects as needed and as justified throughout the system as we see items pop up. All right, last but not least, just provided a bunch of links there for reviewing pleasure. If you need any additional resources, please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, I realized I talk rather fast, so I would stand for any questions.
And AJ, I'll help manage the Q&A. I just want to say again, thank you so much for presenting this information. Shoot, I was at a meeting this morning. It was an economic development meeting, and one of our community members made reference to the value of our airport, and maybe more importantly, to the value that we have with the FAA and with WYDOT because of the support that we receive financially from them. It's pretty incredible that we as communities put forward money to improve our airports, but it's amazing that the majority of the funds come from our state partners and our federal partners. And so I think it's critical that we all understand how to gain access to those funds and understand this priority rating model so that when we propose something, we're doing it in a manner that's fair, and also that we understand what the state is looking for and also how they're going to rate our proposals. So thank you, AJ, so much for informing us on this.
Absolutely. And I would encourage anybody that has the opportunity when we do an update of the priority rating model to participate in that task force, as it's very educational to go through that, and very informative. And then, you're getting your voice heard in there as well.
We've got a great comment from Glenn Janeska that I think folks can see, but he just reiterated the value and appreciates what AJ's done. He says, AJ, I can speak for all of us in Casper to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and presenting this information to us. And in parentheses, just please keep this comment in mind when they ask for an extension on their WASIP.
Yeah, I think my phone's already ringing. Glenn's asking for more money, so.
We'll stay on the line and address any other questions that come in. I was I'm going to talk about all my meetings today, but I was in another meeting with our staff and we're talking about grants we're going after. And we also discussed how critical it is that you understand the program that you're applying to. You have to read your notice of funding opportunities. But when it comes to the aeronautics division, when it comes to our airports, we have a responsibility as airports to understand the priority rating model. And it's our job to make sure that we're educated. And we hope as a coalition, we can help you do that, because the more you're informed, the more successful you'll be as you present your needs to the Aeronautics Commission and tell the story of your individual airport. Each one of you have projects that need to get done. Each one of you support communities and airports that need connectivity, whether it be general aviation or commercial. And so when you propose your needs to the Aeronautics Commission, make sure you understand the rating model, so then you're more successful and you're more competitive. Another question came in, or a comment. This is from Lisa Stott. She says, thank you, AJ, and the entire crew at WYDOT Aeronautics for always being there to answer any of our questions. You're always very prompt at responding to our needs. That's from Cody.
Fantastic. Yeah, Kyle, I would say, having a knowledge of the priority rating model and the federal priorities is key to getting your projects funded. But also, if your projects aren't funded, reaching out to WYDOT or the FAA, especially on some of these competitive funds, and asking what you can adjust or better justify, in the limited space that you have on those applications, to ensure that you have those keywords, those buzzwords in there, or that key justification that's needed to compete at the regional level, because some of these project managers are aware of the projects that are getting funded and things that could enhance your applications.
And Mr. Janeska has also provided a comment, and in summary, it ties back to the fact that we all have an opportunity to serve on these committees, and he encourages folks to get involved. Mr. Janeska has had opportunity to serve on this priority rating model committee, and he's expressed the value in doing so, getting engaged to better understand that process. And when you do that, you just better represent your community. There's never enough money for the needs that are in either your local town or the state of Wyoming or the federal arena. So understanding how to make yourself more competitive and understanding what the priority is will benefit you. We have a question come through, and it says, what is the best way to get a copy of today's slides and the priority rating model?
So those are both located in the in the chat right now. You should be able to download them out of the chat. The priority rating model is, I believe, uploaded to our website now. If not, it'll go live overnight. Our commission secretary is out on vacation. She's the one that has access to be doing that. I believe it's available on our website. If not, feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to email or share any content that you wish to have for your reading pleasure.
If you do have issues downloading those from the chat, as AJ said, reach out. We would like to provide the slides and also these recordings to the membership. We're working on a way to make them available on our website. We haven't been able to kind of crack that nut yet, but we have had several requests from the membership about not just getting the content from the slides, but also the recordings. And we'll see if we can make that happen. As you can imagine, the files, especially for the recording, are relatively large. They're hard to send out via email or other communication. So we're going to try and centralize that. But we just haven't been able to make that happen yet.
I would also note that the vast majority of our documents, if you have access to Black Cat, they're all available under global documents. And then your individual airport documents, design standards reports are all available under the facility documents.
We'll hang out here for a few more minutes if there are any other questions that come in. And maybe I'll just take this opportunity to also share my screen and let folks see our agenda for the upcoming conference. As I mentioned at the start, this is going to be a great conference. This is going to be a good opportunity for us to gather as a coalition and as professionals. And there we go. I believe it's showing appropriately now, but it's an opportunity for us to get together and improve our knowledge of airports and aviation, make friendships, develop professional relationships. But I do want to just highlight the fact that we've got a great agenda already in place. It looks like we've got another comment that has come in. And it says, it appears that the chat function is disabled for participants, but we can reach out directly to you through the Black Cat. So I apologize if the chat is not available to all you. I've tried to send some chats out and message everyone, but if you're not able to download it, we'll find another way to make them available.
Yeah, please just send me an email and I can get those sent right out.
And I appreciate that feedback. So getting back to our schedule of events for the upcoming conference, again, we'll kick off actually Tuesday night, though there will be a board meeting. But the conference truly opens on Wednesday with the opportunity to golf at Old Baldy. We will have our conference registration open that day at the Platte Valley Community Center. The welcome reception will be held there. And then we'll kick things off Thursday again at the Platte Valley Community Center. And we've got a great lineup. Appreciate again our partners at the FAA and WYDOT Aeronautics, because they are providing quite a few updates throughout this conference. But we're going to talk a lot about building success at your airport, or even as a consulting group, through governing documents. Understanding that minimum standards documents set you up for success. Master plans set you up for success. Shoot, they even help you get money down the road. But any other type of document that relates to governing policies will set you up for success. That's a foundational item. And so we're going to kick it off with that. We're going to talk about hangars, hangar compliance, hangar development. There was a recent update to the design standards that was sponsored by a consultant and also the WYDOT Aeronautics Division. We'll get a full update on that from Ardura and WYDOT. We'll be talking about land use and funding opportunities, ways to generate revenue at your airport, and understanding how to manage airside and landside land use development and policies. We will always be privileged to receive a legislative and congressional update. That's been a valuable thing, I think, through the years. And then we're going to close out before we get into a breakout session. But we're going to close out with two very strong speakers that are going to be informing us about changes in fuel and next generation av fuels for the industry, and how you as an airport should prepare for that and plan for your success that way. We will have Friday morning our general membership meeting, and that's an important opportunity to get updates on the coalition, the finances, and then we will have election of officers this year as well. So there's a quick rundown, and I hope you agree with me that this will be a valuable opportunity for you to hone your skills, sharpen your skills, and improve the communities that you're serving right now.
Kyle, I would argue that the biggest benefit you can get out of this conference is the relationships that you make. Being able to pick up the phone and call across the state to an airport that's doing the same thing you're doing is probably of more value than anything you're going to learn.
That's been my experience. Well, it looks like I think we've answered all the questions from attendees today. Thank you so much again for participating in our Lunch and Learn. More importantly, thank you, AJ, for taking this on and providing such pertinent and timely information to our membership.
Absolutely appreciate you having me.
Okay, we look forward to seeing everybody in a month's time. We will not have a Lunch and Learn for the month of September, and that's because we'll have opportunity to get together in person. But I very much appreciate this opportunity, and I'm very excited that we've been able to pull these Lunch and Learn series together. And I think that this is just one way that we can prepare for our annual conference in a way to exchange and share information with one another. So with that, have a great rest of the day. And again, thanks for joining us.